Hi, my name is Josh O'Connor. I'm Emerging Web Technology Specialist at W3C. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you about XR accessibility. Many thanks to Roy Ran for kindly inviting me here to talk to you all, and I'm very honored to be talking with you at the Chinese Accessibility Interest Group. So a little bit about me. I've been working in accessibility for around 20 years. I'm very interested in the humane aspects of technology. I'm also very interested in the design and engineering challenges of accessibility. Accessibility is a very deep subject. I have also lots of practical experience working with people with disabilities. Much of my work in W3C is done as a part of the Research Questions Task Force. The Research Questions Task Force is a task force of the Accessible Platform Architectures Working Group at W3C. This is the group that supports W3C specifications to make sure they are accessible to people with disabilities. Please also note this work is funded by the European Union Waveguide project. Okay, XR or virtual and immersive environments are becoming much more stable and commonplace. The use of this existing hardware means it may become ubiquitous everywhere. What does this mean for people with disabilities? This is an important question. So I'd like to set the scene. So imagine as a blind user being able to navigate a building that you are going to visit tomorrow by using XR today. This could be for very practical things. Where are the toilets? How do I get in and out of the building? So on and so forth. Imagine being able to interact and communicate with friends and colleagues in immersive worlds in new and interesting ways. So this is all very exciting, and XR has the promise of presenting new ways of interaction. Imagine being able to design and build together in real time using immersive environments. Also for the purposes of work and for education, XR accessibility and accessible immersive experiences could be very, very useful in supporting people with disabilities to work, collaborate, and share in immersive environments. Imagine being able to use immersive environments with a range of input and output devices that were customized for your needs. Imagine that the environment could learn and change, adopt as you require. So, what are the challenges for XR accessibility? Some of the challenges for people with disabilities include being able to use assistive technology in immersive environments with complex input devices. A user may have multiple devices that they need to use. They may also require a high degree of precision, timing, and accuracy. The environment itself may be needed to be able to successfully use it. So how can that be changed, modified according to what a person with a disability needs? Another problem may be a lack of semantic descriptions for non-visual users or users of other kinds of assistive technology. The semantic descriptions that are used in web pages, for example, to describe images or to describe the purpose of controls also needs to be embedded within immersive environments so that affordances are not necessarily just visual, but can be understood and consumed by assistive technologies. Captioning also needs to have particular context. There's also very good work going on in W3C in the Immersive Captions community group, which is looking at the whole area of captioning in immersive environments for a range of different users. There may be tricky routing of input and output devices, complex combinations of input and output devices that are used by someone with a disability in an immersive environment. How is that going to work? How is that going to be coordinated? So these are questions. Understanding how to interact and the affordance of a particular control, which means how does it tell you it should be used? How can you understand by looking at it how to use it? Rather like a pair of scissors. You don't need a manual to figure out how to use a pair of scissors. There's an affordance that comes that's inherent in a pair of scissors, so you know intuitively how to use it. How can these things be embedded in XR environments, and how can they translate in a way which will make sense to people with different kinds of disabilities? This indicates then personalization and the importance of personalization and customization which may be required. So this may be also dynamic, may change, and may be dependent on context of use. So some of the other technical challenges in XR accessibility include identifying gaps in current standards. We are working in W3C on looking at WCAG 3.0. What should that do to address the user needs in XR? Another question is, what does a good immersive environment look like for accessibility? An environment that will support the needs of the user. What should that architecture look like? This is a very, very interesting challenge, and this is something that we are discussing in the research questions task force. One of the things we are thinking of is, what about a modular approach to semantics as they may relate to the immersive environment, objects, movement, and interaction? If we break these down into different parts of a stack and then see how they work together, then they could support a accessible, interoperable environment. This must be addressed properly because we do not want token accessibility in immersive environments. So what do we mean by token accessibility? So we mean this kind of thing. And this is an example of a wheelchair ramp, a ramp that could be used by somebody pushing a shopping trolley, or a mommy or a daddy with a baby, but the actual ramp only goes halfway up the stairs. So we do not want this kind of thing. We also don't want to have braille behind glass, as this example shows, which is a vending machine selling potato chips, nachos, crisps, sweets, whatever. But there are braille identifiers for the different products, but they're all behind glass. A blind user isn't going to be able to put their hand on them or use them in any practical way. But somebody decided it was a good idea because it looks like they're doing something for accessibility. So we do not want this kind of approach in immersive environments. Finally, we have another example of what we don't want, which is where there is a sign that says push to lock door when lit, push to close door when lit, push to open door when lit, with braille descriptions underneath it. But a blind user isn't going to be able to see when the light is on or not. So this again is a good example of an engineered solution that looks good but is useless. So to address some of these challenges, we have published the XR Accessibility User Requirements document, or XOUR. This is a working group, soon to be working group note, which covers the range of potential user needs and requirements for people with disabilities in immersive environments. Very, very happy to be reaching the point, nearing the point at the end of June, we hope to publish, where this document will be out, and we broadly welcome your feedback. Please do look at it and let us know what you think. So I'll talk a little bit about what this covers. This document lists accessibility user needs and requirements in XR. It covers navigation, object semantics, interaction, multimodal affordances, which covers the various ways people with disabilities may need to both understand and interact with content. Now, how do we address these challenges? So one of the things that we come back to is identifying where pain point areas and gaps are, where there are problems. Again, we're also working on looking at what good looks like in this space, to use the agile terminology. We can learn a lot from gaming. The gaming industry is taking accessibility very seriously and innovating in this space, in these immersive kind of spaces. So we can learn a lot from that. And we really need broad engagement in XOR standards development. So I'm actively saying, please get involved. We're very, very happy for you to contribute and to let us know your thoughts, experiences, and share your knowledge in this space. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I hope it was useful. Very, very happy to hear any feedback. Please feel free to contact me directly. You contact me via Roy. And again, very, very happy to have been here and honored to have been asked. Joshue.